welcome to a special edition of QUTV Sports this week. We could call today's show QUTV Sports this year because we are going to wrap up our favorite stories from the past year. QUTV reporters will be joining me here on set to talk about their work. Each one chose a favorite story that they worked on this year, and some will present in their original format, and some will summarize for you. First, the biggest story on campus was the success of the women's basketball team. We produced several stories covering this year's team, and QTV's Michael Lanier covered the team's first scrimmage of the season. The Hawks played against Millikan University, and here's a story that Lanier reported at the time.
I'm just really excited about this group. I think we have a good set of returners like we talked about, but they're in the right mindset, so I'm hoping we can do some things this year.
This experienced group has high expectations this year as the Hawks look to take a leap this season, moving up 2 spots from last year's 9th place GLVC preseason polls.
The Hawks added 6 freshmen to this year's roster, but returned 10, so the chemistry is there from last year as well.
We actually returned majority of our starters, which is great, and we put some people in a few different roles. The good thing about what we have coming back is the expectation from last year has taken a step forward.
Returning to the court for the Hawks is the only all-conference player from last year's team, Samira Williams. Williams, who averaged 14 points and 9 rebounds last year, is looking to have a huge senior year while also leading the charge for the Hawks. Also returning as forward Chomp Danzo and Ashlyn Arnsman, with the backcourt trio of Carson Stratton, Janice Dawson, and Marianne Blass.
We got another guard and another post we're really excited about, and our freshmen are really coming along offensively and defensively. So we're starting to take strides early in the season.
The Hawks adding 2 players looking to seek a lot of minutes with grad transfers Nicole McDermott and Taylor Hasse, both coming from Coach Boyd's previous school, Clark University. While watching the Hawks, be sure to watch out for freshmen to be making a name for themselves with guards Gwen O'Connell and Savannah James. The Hawks are on the rise and ready for a great season ahead. Michael Lanier, QUTV, Quincy.
Michael joins us now to talk about this story. Michael, what did you find out about the team by covering this scrimmage?
The scrimmage this past year, it was a fun scrimmage to watch. You really got a good preview of how their experienced group really ran and molded together really well, especially with the 2 transfers that came in. They just fit in right away, and then the freshmen that came in played really well alongside all the vets that really carried them together.
So you got to see what they look like in their first scrimmage, but then we also get to know how their season ended. Would you have been able to predict that from the first scrimmage that you watched, or was that kind of like a surprise to you even?
It was a little bit of a surprise. You kind of had that expectation, obviously, just as an athlete. You expect to be really good. And you saw the glimpses in the scrimmage of them just clicking on all cylinders. And so further on in the season, as they kept going and going and going and that chemistry kept clicking, you could tell that it was going to be a special group by the end of the year.
All right, thanks, Michael. It's been fun finally having you on set here. After all the attention of the women's basketball team becoming GLVC champions, Coach Courtney Boyd got a new job. And after a head coach is stepping down, a new one has to be hired. QTV's Frey Hansen attended the announcement of a new coach. Can you tell us a little bit about how it was being at the press conference and just all the attention around the new coach?
Yeah, so like you mentioned, I went to the press conference and it was announced to be Alison Swogmeyer-Bulger to become the new coach. And I made sure to wear my QU Media shirt that day just to make sure people knew I was from a media. And I have also just experienced that people approach you more and actually like maybe ask if they could get interviewed, just as out of experience. And an example of that was Brian McGee just coming up to me and was like, okay, let's do this. I have done multiple interviews before. And he just started out spelling his name even before I almost turned on the camera. And then he just started talking. And so that was a great experience. And just, yeah, I felt very respected. And it was a whole professional environment to be in. So good experience.
You know, that sounds great. Just one more question that I have for you is what stands out most to you about the new coach and her story?
So what stood most out to me as a coach was how positively and excited everyone talked about her because of her persona, but also just because they felt confident in her because of her statistics as a player. In the 2 seasons she was here at QU, she was named GLVC Conference Player of the Year in her time here as a junior, along with first team All GLVC selection as a senior. And she earned first team all Midwest region honors both seasons. In those seasons, she had an averaging scoring on 18 per game, and in total she had 207 assists. So one of my questions for her was what she thinks she can bring into QU as a basketball coach.
I think I can bring a lot of basketball knowledge, a lot of basketball skill development, and I think that I can recruit really well. And so I want to make sure that our girls are getting better no matter what, and I want to make sure that we're making sure we just develop as a family and we celebrate each other's success, and just really excited about getting after it and having some hard-working players.
And already the other day, I saw her bringing 4 to 5 recruits into the cafe, so she's ready to create her team. And I know the current players are just excited to get working with her, and I mean, she had a professional career behind her with playing in both Germany, Spain, and Australia. And in Australia, she earned All-Stars honors, so I think the women's basketball team will be in good hands next season.
Thank you, Freya. It sounds like you kind of got the whole experience there with that press conference. And as well, I believe that the women's basketball team will be in good hands for next year. In December, the QU women's basketball team followed in the footsteps of the Lady Hawks that came before them. They traveled to Hawaii for the Big Island Classic. The 1978 Quincy College women's basketball team went on the same trip in the 70s. QUTV reporters Tyler Menendez and Henry Ballmer report on the history behind the shared experience.
Hawks on 3, 1, 2, 3, Hawks! Yeah!
An experience it was. A trip to Hawaii is definitely a dream come true. But in the 1970s, the funding for female sports was definitely not a trending topic.
That trip was, 1 in a million in that time frame and in that era. We knew that it was going to take an awful lot of work. So we had no university or no college money. So it was with the support of family and friends and the community, and we had a Hawkette Booster Club that was helpful.
We had a chance to speak with the team alumni about their fundraising experience and what drove them to help the current QU women's basketball team's upcoming trip.
When we went to Hawaii, we had to raise all the funds. So I don't remember the exact cost, but I know it was over $600 a piece, which is cheap now. These kids need the same thing. They need that experience, and why not help them out?
So we were just very happy to help those students out because we know that they are going to want to take some extra spending money with them.
Players and coaches are very excited for the trip and the opportunity to play and explore in Hawaii. But for one player, this trip is bigger than just basketball.
I'm going to love it. Personally, my family out there has never seen me play a college basketball game, so it'll be a little tearjerker for me, I think, but I'm super excited. I just want to give a little piece of my culture to QU and our team in general, and I think it's going to be fun.
Aside from Nevis, players feel a great deal of gratitude towards the 78 team and their efforts they've made in helping fund this trip.
Honestly, this is a blessing because, we started last year trying to fund for this fundraiser, and it's been a struggle. It's been hard, and we have a lot of gratitude towards them.
To be able to do what they did, it kind of shows that there's a family connection here at Quincy and that they're willing to help us out even all those years later.
In preparation for the trip to Hawaii, the Lady Hawks have 3 regular season games before they catch their flight. In the meantime, they will be working on getting their pockets right and their game tight.
Their game definitely stayed tight, and this one aged pretty well as the Lady Hawks had quite an impressive season. They finished with a 25-8 record on the season and would have gone to win the GLVC Conference Tournament. QTV's Freya Hansen also worked on a women in sports story this semester.
Yes, so I found out that Quincy University is celebrating its 165th anniversary, and I figured out it would be a good story to look at. When women came into the picture, and it was only 13 years after, in 1873, that women got admitted to the college at that time. And it was 100 years after women's sport came into the picture. So.
And did you have any challenges with this story or finding reporting for it?
Yeah, so it was a difficult story to shoot because there's not really a lot of material to shoot. I had to ask my teachers what they think I could do, and they told me to find some videos of women playing in sports and just maybe go to the archives in the library to find some old pictures of women in sport. And I was so lucky that I have some sweet classmates like Carter and Tony and Professor Lawrence to let me borrow their videos of women in sports too. So yeah, but let's see how the whole story turned out to be.
History was made in 1961 because basketball, tennis, and volleyball were introduced to Quincy University as the first women's sports. This milestone was important in the university's history because now QU's athletic department is equal with 14 different sports across men and women. The women's softball team made history in 1985, where they won the NAIA championship. This win not only put QU women's sports on the map, but also set the standard for success across all women's teams at the university. And the women's sports here at QU have only made milestones since then.
I think that, if we watch and like our women's soccer program has had, they had a decade of success plus. Women's volleyball, we're seeing the first time just in the last 4 years where they're getting to the NCAA tournament. Softball has had 2 different times of success. We talk about the 84-85 team. We talk about the 2011, 2012. We look at basketball, who is resurging, right? They were similar at that women's soccer time period where they had, again, a decade plus of success. But I think when it comes down to is success is contagious. If you see that you see your peers are able to go and be successful in their sport, then that is contagious, because if they can do it, why can't we?
Today, women's sports continues to grow, not just in athletic performance, but also in media coverage and fan involvement.
Women's sports in general at Quincy has always been pivotal, and I think the campus and the community, there's a lot of community involvement with just the support of women's sports. I think at times some of our women's sports also get more, not coverage, but get more fan involvement in the community, just because you have a lot of young students or young athletes in the area that look up to these girls, especially with not a lot of professional sports in the Quincy area or in the St. Louis area, at least for women. So you see a lot of girls looking up to our basketball players or our soccer players, because to them they're professional athletes.
With continued investment and support, women's athletics at QU will keep making history for years to come.
And was there anything that you learned going over the history of all this stuff?
Yeah, so once I made it to the archives in the library, I met Susan Grant, who works there, and she actually told me she was always jealous of her brother playing sports, and mostly soccer actually. So I think that was very interesting, and I think the history the women made once they could finally play soccer was so important for also the future of women in sports.
And this is the last question, I promise you. Any other specific reason on to why you chose this story?
Yeah, so I chose this story because I'm a part of the Honor Society here at QU, and I asked Professor Baldner if I could do any assignments or something like this for this class, and she remembered I wanted to do documentaries, so she assigned me to do a documentary about women in sports, and more specifically about women in football, as we call it in Europe. And there's no, it's perfect to choose football because there's no other right sport to do it, right, Ryan?
I mean, you keep calling it football, but that's just going to confuse me because we do call it soccer over here for a reason. But anyway, thank you, and I'm really excited to see that documentary that you come out with. Siblings can sometimes be aggravating. Other times they can be role models. For the Nielsen family, Michael was a leader and a role model for his little sister, Catherine. Lindsay, how did you come upon this story, and what made you want to do it?
Back in Amber, I came upon this story about one of my teammates and her inspiring story of her brother. She was always talks about how inspiring he was and looked up to him as a role model, and basically why she wanted to attend Quincy was because of him. The story did get sent around the family group chat and did make her mother cry. So hopefully I inspired Catherine and Michael just like they inspired me to do this story.
Fair, you bet it will. Make it 20.
Michael Nielsen was a 5-year starter at Quincy University and became second-team All-Conference in 2018 as a sophomore. This meant Catherine, his little sister, had a lot of trips to Quincy during her younger years. Catherine really didn't mind as she was a softball player herself and looked up to her brother Michael. As she grew up watching baseball her whole life, she grew a love for the game and wanted to take her skill to the next level. Fortunately, when Quincy came calling, she knew this was a sign to play at her brother's alma mater.
I always knew I wanted to play softball out of school in the GLVC. Seeing him here for 5 years made me realize that this is the place I wanted to be, being a small school in a good town.
Catherine is a middle infielder on the QU Hawks softball team. Her brother played first base, so she wanted to stick with the infield trend. She also wears number 24 just like her brother, as she feels every time she puts on her jersey, she represents him in his QU playing days.
Michael Nielsen accomplished one of the big things you want to accomplish as a QU baseball player, and that's to be a part of this wall that stands just outside the QU men's baseball locker room. Not only did he pave the way for his sister to come here, he paved the way for the QU baseball players behind him.
It's definitely fun to have conversations at dinner about the same professors we've had and the same things that we do at school. Anytime I'm having a rough day here, it's nice to drive past the stadium and know that that was where I had some of the best memories with my family.
Lindsay Fisher, QUTV Sports, Quincy.
If Catherine and Michael ever have their own families, I always joke with Catherine that she should probably send them Quincy's way.
And thank you, Lindsay, for that feel-good family story. Quincy University hosted Senior Day for its football team. While it's the last time some of these men get to play together on the field, there is more to Senior Day than just the athletes themselves. Carter, this story was a very personal and important story for you. Why is that?
Well, Ryan, this story meant a lot to me because growing up, I was very close with these two families. And knowing the impact of that story had on them, I knew it'll bring a smile that I will never forget for the rest of my life. So let's take a look at the feel-good story of the year.
Senior Day means for two Hawks football players, it's the last time that they get to share a home field. As well as 16-year journey has come to an end for Brandon Granger and Brock Edmond. It started with Andy Lenzen making a junior league football team so these two men can meet and develop their football skills. Then they went separate ways.
Well, throughout the years, they went to separate high schools, played against each other, but stayed as friends, and then got to meet up here at Quincy. There was 3 of them, actually, that got to do it. So,
while these two men did end up going to rival high schools, with Brock going to Fox High School in Arnold, and Brandon Granger going to Seckman just 7 miles away, these two bitter rivals did end up coming back together to play for the Quincy Hawks.
Oh, I can't even explain it. I mean, they're all family. We're all one big family. You know, we started out when the kids were 5 years old, and now to see them as young men is just unbelievable. And we're even closer now than we were when the kids were younger. So it's great that we all got reunited again and we got to see all the boys together again.
With a 16-year journey finally coming to an end, it's no longer goodbye, but see you again soon as they move on to a different phase in life.
I'm gonna miss their friendship, their joking back and forth, and just having each other to talk to.
Brandon's plan now is to join the police academy while Brock still has 1 more year of eligibility.
That story was super impactful for all the parties involved. I started tearing up a little bit just watching that story again. But Carter, what was your favorite part about showing the family this story, and especially after it was published?
I remember showing this to the Granger family, and Tabby, Brandon's mom, came up to me and gave me one of the tightest hugs ever, and as she started crying in my arms. And that's when I knew that that story was super impactful and probably will be my most favorite story I've ever done.
Well, that's definitely not the feel-good story I expected. Thank you for giving us a little extra behind the scenes today for this story today, Carter.
Time.
The range at KC was remodeled last semester to be a state-of-the-art golf experience. Our QUTV sports reporter Jake Vitale brought us to see how the range got remodeled. The remodeling included 30 new golf bays with garage doors to help keep it cool and heaters for the season changing ahead. The range opened back in August of 24. Since then, it has been a great success. Golfers across Quincy love the space for the golfing experience, along with the full bar and the food options they have available. Let's see what Jake experienced back then.
Located next to Knights of Columbus at 830 36th Street, the new facility opens up to a 4,000 square foot bar with plenty of TVs to sit and watch a game and enjoy some of their creative food menu. Outside, there is a patio that overlooks the old par 3 course, which was not open yet but looked in playing shape. While inside looks great, the range is all about golf. Each bay is set up with couches and tables, along with a dispenser for each golf shot. Each area fits up to 6 players, and bay prices do not increase the more players you get. It actually gets cheaper the more friends you bring along.
Yeah, so I've been here the last 4 years, and KC Range has been great, but this upgrade is awesome. I'm really looking forward to playing here in the winter, and it's honestly really cheap and affordable for even kids in college. To be honest, I just come out here and I just rip them.
The range at Quincy is basically just like Topgolf. As you can see, they have the targets out there. They have a tracer so you can watch the ball. And it's sometimes good just after a long day to get out there and hang out with your friends and try and win a game, try and hit some targets just like this.
The top tracer is set up for players to be able to watch the flight of their ball and see how far it went. The range also offers memberships that include discounted guest passes.
So working here at the KC Range, they have a very flexible schedule with baseball as well as short hours and long hours on the weekends. We got pizza deals, we got wing deals, we got drink deals. It's a great environment to work at, and it's a great place to be at.
The staff is excited for the colder weather to come through and still be able to provide the Quincy area with state-of-the-art golf all year round. Jake Vitale, QUTV News, Quincy.
I really think it's a great addition to the Quincy town with the range, not only for people who love golf, but also love team bonding. I know our women's soccer team went there one evening last semester to bond and hit some golf balls. Thank you, Jake, for showing us what the range looks like. We've been going over everyone else's stories, but I guess it's time to go over one which I enjoyed creating the most. And if I had to choose just one, it would be the story I did last year on the turf field. My inspiration came from playing on the turf myself and knowing how old it is. I wanted to bring awareness to the field as it is starting to get more and more worn down. My goal was to bring issue to this light.
Back when it was added, the turf was a big deal as it provided a new look and helped cut down the cost of maintenance. That change was made in 2015, and with 4 teams practicing on the turf, the lifespan reaching its end, the turf could become more and more dangerous.
The average lifespan is already only 8 to 10 years, and whenever you have multiple teams practicing on it and competing on it, that can potentially decrease the life expectancy. Especially it can start to pull apart at the seams, or it can become really compact and really hard and could potentially cause further injury.
Legend Stadium here at North Campus just got their turf upgrade, so in the looks of stadium renovations, the Rock might be next up. More compacted turf has been a problem, especially for players who have to move for extended periods of time.
It hurts my ankles, you know what I'm saying? I say my ankles are kind of shaky, but you know what I'm saying, the turf burns are really bad. But I mean, we're trying to get some maintenance done, but I feel like ultimately we just need to grab some new turf before we continue to keep the maintenance going on it.
While the cost to replace the turf may be high, the amount of time used on it playing and practicing might make it necessary. Ryan Cabs, QTV News, Quincy.
Now, QTV's Grant Owen is here to tell us about an opportunity that he got to have this semester.
Yeah, me and a teammate got to cover swim nationals and get an amazing experience out of it. Let's take a look.
Getting an opportunity like the one me and my teammate were handed was such a great experience, and I got to bring a camera and take you behind the scenes for a day in the life of a student media reporter. When we first got to the pool, we had to pick up our media credentials. This allowed us to get anywhere on the pool deck with the camera. Up on the main concourse, you had all your booths, your merchandise, your athlete credentials, and your meat packets for coaches. And in between sessions or races we need to shoot, I got my interviews done. One with an assistant coach and one with Wyatt.
I don't hate D3, but it's been quite the ride and quite the new experience.
It's a great day to be a Hawk.
It is a great day to be a Hawk.
Thank you. Any predictions of what you think you're going to go?
Hopefully under 350.
350 tonight.
Tonight
In the 350, 4 a.m.
Maybe 425 tomorrow.
Oh, I like that. Here we are at Division II Nationals in Indianapolis, Indiana. We have Quincy has 2 swimmers, Wyatt and Borna. Wyatt swam the 200 IM yesterday, swims the 4 AM today, and the 500 free tomorrow, where Borna swam the 50 free yesterday the 100 fly today and the 100 back tomorrow. Both swimmers look to make finals today and tomorrow.
In the stands, there are media tables. They were used for taking pictures of the deck and to upload your work. This trip allowed me to see so many cool things, like an area that had therapy dogs, and Quincy's own Wyatt Walsh received a 6th place trophy. Here we are in the media room. Angelina's working on uploading pictures and other stuff. We got our Starbucks. But yeah, here's the press room. It leads out right out to the pool. Such a beautiful pool, fastest in America.
I had a great experience, and I got to make a lot of connections and got to talk to SIDs and more people that are in my field.
Of course, before we left, I had to snag some sweet merch and watch the rest of the session from the media tables. I would also like to give a huge thanks to Nora for making this experience a possibility. Grant Owen, QUTV Sports, Indianapolis.
Now, it definitely looked like a fun trip altogether, but what would you say was the most rewarding part of this trip?
Definitely the experience we got. I think we got to learn a lot of what sports information directors do, like Olivia and Alex we have here. But I think it was that, and then also getting to see our teammates actually compete. We were going there for business, but we also got to see our teammates swim. So, yeah.
And thank you for rewarding that, providing that package for us, and just bringing us along for that experience.
Of course, thank you.
QTV's Lucas Laudenstein had an opportunity to cover the Mart Heinen Chili Cook-Off earlier this semester. We have been covering a lot of teams and players throughout the semester, but this story gave us a look at one of the ways money is raised for the teams. The Mart Heinen Club is a big reason why the teams here at QU can afford the uniforms and facilities that they have. This is not the only cool part of this event. This is also a chance for both people inside and outside the QU community to come together and enjoy some good chili. If you're lucky enough, you might be able to learn a secret ingredient or two.
Well, ever since they basically started about 15 years ago, we got our secret ingredient, love, because we love to make it, and we love to give it out to people that enjoy good chili.
Visitors also had a chance to enter into a raffle and get some drinks from the bar while enjoying their chili. We have Lucas right here with us to talk a little bit more about what went into the story. Lucas, I heard this was your first time going to a chili cook-off. Well, what were your first impressions?
Yeah, no, I was surprised. I'd kind of heard of the event, so I knew it was, a fairly big deal around here. And even though I was told they had less tables there serving chili than they normally do, there were still a lot of people, like the community really showed out for this.
And I remember you doing this story a little bit. You mentioned it had a new name. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So this year it kind of had two names. It was still kind of known around the community as the Mart Heinen Chili Cook-Off, but they also called it the John Funky Memorial this year, dedicating it to John Funky, who was somebody, he was active within the Quincy community, and he was a member of the Mart Heinen Booster Club who passed away. And so in his honor, they renamed the cook-off after him this year.
It's really cool that they decided to do that, but do you have any final thoughts on the cook-off?
No, I mean, really the only thing I'd want to say is I think it's an event that every QU student needs to check out at least once, because even if you don't want to be there with all the people, you still get some chili for a pretty cheap price.
Now joining me to talk about a fun way to relax is Tony Lundy. Tony did a story on goat yoga, so let's talk about a little bit about that. So what was your experience? Did you participate? And what are some of the difficulties with the story in doing goat yoga?
Yeah, so I actually did participate in it a little bit, but I was mostly there to obviously get coverage. And just one thing that was pretty difficult for me was getting the goats to stay still in some of the shots that I got. And that's just because even though they're trained that well, some students have the desire to just go pick up a goat, and they would run away during that. So that made it a little difficult, but I think that the goats help de-stress the overall experience more than yoga already does to your mind. And the bonus of that is, being around goats that are fluffy and kind during that experience. So I think it was a cool experience. So let's take a look at what I was able to cover here.
Students across campus lined up to be a part of this opportunity. Goat yoga is used to reduce stress, have a fun experience, and provide a challenge to the art of yoga. The sessions were an hour long and provided 2 groups. A liability form had to be signed in order to participate. Many students found joy and excitement out of the whole experience.
It was really good. It was something that I've never done before. I like yoga, so putting goats in there was a little bit weird at first, but it was really fun. It was a good laugh. Everybody really got involved. And although I may have got pooed on once or twice, overall I'd say it was a really good experience.
Though the goats may have turned the atmosphere into a landmine for the students, that was the only problem as far as the goats. The students were put through many obstacles like having a goat jump on their back while in pose and even try to have the goats walk across their backs at once. Many of the students struggled, but it was all in fun.
If you like yoga and you want to participate in something a little different, I suggest Goat Yoga, as the group that they were working with were very friendly, and these goats are just absolutely adorable to work with. So give it a look.
These goats are trained well and provide friendships to those who attend and participate. The 2 women that run the show have worked together for a long time, but one became an instructor just last year.
Well, I've raised goats for years, and Susan and I became really good friends through goats, and she started goat yoga in 2019, and last year she needed a new instructor, so I went ahead and took an instructor's course and got involved in it.
To have an opportunity like these QU students, go to Show Me Your Goga on Facebook and message them. They do any type of event and provide service to where you don't really need anything. Tony Lundy, QUTV Sports, Friarsfield.
Now, I'm going to be honest, I would just be there for the goats more. That about wraps up this week's special with just one more thing to talk about. Seniors recently signed the back of the set because it is our last day in the studio. There's been some good years here, right, Tony?
Yeah, I'd have to agree. It's been some pretty great years here, and I'm just appreciative of everything that QUTV has given me over these years.
Yeah, I really can't agree more. Let's take a look at us signing the set just the other day. What has become an annual tradition at QUTV has made its mark once again. Seniors who are moving on from their time at QU and QTV get to print their name in history. Signing the set has been around since 2018, with the class of 2025 adding in 5 students. Congratulations to not only myself, but the people alongside of me: Tony Lundy, Jake Vitale, Henry Balmer, and Tyler Menendez. This wraps up our special QTV Sports show. Make sure to check us out on social media and qmedia.net.